Hello, everybody. Welcome to the CSA FinCloud Summit 2024. My name is Subra Kumaraswamy. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer for Visa. Just to kind of give a little bit of background about myself, I've been at Visa for 8+ years. I've been in the cyber business for 20+ years. It's a great time to be in cyber. I'm sure many of you are enjoying your time in your current role. And about Visa, I'm sure many of you are using Visa. Thank you for folks who are our customers. We are a global company. We are critical infrastructure for US and the global payments spanning 200+ countries. We have over 4.3 billion cardholders using our card every day. Just kind of give you a little bit of flavor of the scale at which we operate, we move about $15 trillion every year. So, it's a very critical for people's life. And our purpose is to uplift everyone, everywhere, and by being the best way to get paid and be paid. So I really appreciate the time that I've been given today to talk about Visa's journey to the public cloud. And so today I'm going to walk you through a few things, right? The first is I'll talk about the hybrid cloud strategy and specifically the areas of focus for CISO, for myself, and I'm sure anybody in the fintech industry who are considering public cloud as a strategy for your compute needs. And then I'll talk about how are we deciding on the cloud and what is our criteria to enter the cloud, and at some point, that'll also apply for exiting the cloud, and and why hybrid cloud? I'm sure many of you are thinking, hey, why not 100% in public cloud versus a hybrid cloud? Our strategy is hybrid cloud, so I want to make sure that I communicate, I share my views here, and we'll talk about some other drivers for us to adapt the public cloud, and then we'll wrap up with some key areas of focus. So, as I mentioned to you, our strategy at Visa is a hybrid cloud strategy. And when I say hybrid cloud, it's a combination of a private cloud and a public cloud. And the reason for this is that we believe this combination allows us to be very flexible and be able to build a purpose-built application that can leverage both our on-prem strength as well as the public cloud strength. And more importantly, I want to emphasize the fact that this architecture allows us to maintain control and visibility over the cloud architecture. And especially, I'm sure many of you in financial vertical are dealing with sensitive data. Sensitive data includes your customer data, PI data, sensitive information, including your IP, intellectual property, and in our case, we have 4.3 billion cardholders data. So it's very important for us to make sure that we can maintain that level of control. And the other thing I want to emphasize here is that regulation, right? Regulations are in everybody's mind. Today, we are governed by various regulations, both from a standards perspective as well as from government perspective across the globe. As you know, PCI DSS is near and dear to my heart because we are also a co-author of PCI DSS. So I'm sure if you are going to be running your workloads in the cloud, you have to ensure that the cloud, whether it's public or private, meets the requirements for your PCI DSS, for your GLBA, Sarbanes-Oxley, and in case of European data, GDPR. And of course, there may be other regulations I'm not even mentioning here that you may be governed by. But the key aspect here is that we need to ensure that hybrid cloud architecture allows you to deliver on an ever-evolving regulatory environment and landscape. The third one, which is very important to all of us, is given the threat landscape, and we have been seeing the threat vectors are very, very sophisticated, evolving rapidly, dynamically, and we have to ensure the cloud architecture allows us to protect our consumers, the trust they have on us, and ensure that we have a strong posture to prevent, detect, and respond, and eventually recover from these attacks. And in Visa's case, we need to we are ensuring that we protect our consumers from the fraud, the sophisticated scams that's happening in the industry, and ensuring that we continue to maintain the zero breach mission that we have in place. So at the core of this, it's all about ensuring that you have a strong privacy and data privacy and security management, while you are also meeting the business needs that allows you to go to the public cloud. So now, when you talk about the criteria, I'm sure each of you have different criteria when you think about public clouds. And for Visa, we've been in the industry for 60 plus years, and we have been delivering our value to our consumers around the world at scale using private cloud. And we have invested billions of dollars in cyber and the resiliency part over the last many years. So to me, the number one requirement is to ensure the public cloud allows us to maintain equal or better security posture than on-prem, right? So that's something that is a number one criteria for us when we evaluate the public clouds. It has to meet our bar. We call it as our gold standard internally. And for Visa, cyber is job number one. I'm sure that is the case for many of you, right? We have to ensure that we have the highest security posture to continue to earn the trust of our consumers. The second one is the availability part, which is basically to ensure the cloud can deliver the SLA for our consumers. And that means that we can deliver the services to our customers at scale. And today we are operating at 6 nines of availability, 99.9999 in the on-prem, in the private cloud. So I expect the same, when I take my workloads to the public cloud, I should be able to deliver 6 nines or better. So that's the second criteria. The third one is, really to ensure that we have very good consumer experience. As many of you would have noticed that, it doesn't take more than a couple of seconds for you to authorize your payment wherever you are. So we need to ensure that the latency is not being impacted negatively. So we need to have equal or lower latency when we are using public clouds. The fourth one, which is I'm sure many of you, is probably one of the key benefits of public cloud, is that it allows you to be very agile, which means that you can have very good agility for developers who are writing code and pushing the code using a CI/CD. Very good agility for businesses, more importantly, to make sure that we can deliver on the business requirements and have a very strong time to market approach. So these are the benefits that public cloud offers. So we need, that's something that we are all excited about. The last one, most people don't really pay attention is the cost. So we have to ensure that the cost of the public cloud is the economics around it. One, it can scale well, and number two is that it can give us better returns than an on-prem infrastructure. So we also have very good models to look at both the labor cost as well as the cost of the service itself, and we need to make sure the cost is comparable or lower than on-prem. Now, one of the key things about public cloud is that we are delegating some of the responsibilities to the cloud provider, which means that there needs to be a very strong shared responsibility between the cloud service provider and the consumers like Visa. So in that case, what we expect is, number one, we need to have very strong transparency from the provider. Why that is important? Because we're always concerned about cloud service providers' capability to meet some of our key requirements like logging and monitoring. Today we log billions of events in our private cloud, And we do security analytics using sophisticated machine learning and AI, so we can detect any kind of attacks and be able to prevent it. And we're also looking at the threat vectors that can that potentially could create lateral movements. So a deeper insight is important for us. So some of the cloud providers may not offer the fidelity that we are looking at. So that is as part of shared responsibility, we're expecting the public cloud providers to work with us and be able to understand that we have requirements on the to be able to identify the threats and mitigate it at early stage. The other area I would highlight is around the expectation on the partnership with the cloud service provider, which means that when we have to have very strong collaboration on intelligence. We are taking an approach of intelligence-led defense. That's an approach that we take in where we are proactively looking for activities happening in the ecosystem. And we need to make sure that the provider can share any kind of intelligence in real time on attacks happening on their own infrastructure, so we can be ready. And we know that every day we see a lot of zero-day exploits out there. In the last year, we saw over 80 zero days across the different ecosystem, different technology stacks. So it's important that we have a strong collaboration with a partner so we can see what they are seeing, and then we can get ready with our defense mechanisms. What's our view on hybrid cloud approach? As I mentioned to you earlier, we have a very strong private cloud posture, but we also believe that public cloud has its own value. In terms of the agility, where we can scale up the workloads and scale down. We can probably go to new markets where we don't have data centers. We can be able to augment some of the capabilities that are meeting in-country requirements like localization. So a lot of course, these are the reasons why we are looking at hybrid cloud. And the idea here is that whether you are embracing a public cloud as a SaaS, if you're using 365, which many of you, I'm sure, are using 365 for your email and collaboration, it's important to ensure that the architecture is consistent. Meaning, like, for example, users accessing a private or public cloud should not be able to see the difference when you're moving between these clouds. So the key aspect here is that we want to create a layer of abstraction. The second thing I want to mention to you is multi-cloud. We're not tied to single vendor strategy. We believe in a multi-vendor strategy because innovation is very important to us, and we believe having a strong multi-cloud will allow us to leverage the best cloud for the right use cases, and still be able to meet those 5 things I mentioned to you earlier, the 5 criteria. So we're constantly looking for cloud providers who are able to work with us as we look at how to leverage the cloud for different use cases. For example, right now there is a lot of focus on AI, and there are some providers who are ahead of the game, and we want to ensure that we partner with them. Now, let me talk about some of the drivers for the public cloud. We have many different use cases that we're looking at. One of the key use case that has really worked well for us is the companies that we acquire. We have acquired many companies over the last decade, and almost every company that we acquire has a footprint in a public cloud. So this allows us to, having a hybrid cloud approach allows us to integrate the companies that we acquire with our payment ecosystem in a seamless way, right? So, for example, the companies that we acquire catering to a market could be calling our APIs that is sitting on-prem. But with the hybrid cloud strategy and a strong blueprint, we can still maintain that the best of both worlds. So that's been one of the key areas of focus. And what we have done in the past is, or continue to do, is to ensure that we raise the bar for those companies that we have acquired by bringing the best practices that we have deployed in our on-prem. The other use case I mentioned you a little bit earlier was about the emerging use cases like AI, Gen AI, and we believe that we can do a lot more experimentation by having a public cloud partner without compromising the security and privacy, as well as what we call is making sure that we have a responsible innovation focus that takes care of the consumer data and privacy requirements. We believe that there is opportunity to use large language models and use public data and be able to get a lot of validation with a public cloud provider. I'm sure many of you are feeling the pain of be able to get the capacity for your on-prem or your data center, the GPUs from companies like NVIDIA. And with the public cloud, we believe that we can leapfrog that and be able to take advantage of the cloud capacity. So needless to say, innovation is a big area of focus with public cloud. Continue to look for opportunities in different countries where we can deploy public cloud for the right use case. So our philosophy, in the public cloud is, or in a combination of the public and private, is about 5 areas of focus. Number one, right, we need to make sure the security is equal or better than what we have, on-prem, which means that the security controls that we have deployed in the, if you think about a NIST framework with the 5 areas, which is identify, protect, detect, respond, recover. We have many controls that we deployed, and we've always we've been on a zero trust architecture for a long time with multiple layers of cyber controls. We need to make sure those controls can be adapted in the public cloud. Now, what we have done is we have identified about 68 controls that we believe are critical to success and critical to ensure that we have a strong security posture in the public cloud. And these controls doesn't mean that we are lifting and shifting these controls into the public cloud. We are embracing the cloud native controls as long as it meets our requirements, it meets our policies and standards. So we've always looked at this from a very from an open-minded aspect to ensure we have the best of breed security control in the cloud, and that has really helped us. So we're not constrained by simply saying, hey, I need to take what I have in on-prem and copy and paste to the public cloud. The second area of focus is really around automation. Because the whole idea of public cloud is that it helps you to automatically scale up and down your workloads, be able to do a lot of orchestration using automation. So we want to ensure that we use infrastructure as a code as an example where we can embed security controls into the infrastructure using IAC as an example. So we continue to do that. The third area of focus is when you look at the cyber defense, they're looking this from all the lens, workloads running in on-prem, on the cloud. So it's very important to have a single pane of glass. So we expect the cloud providers to to integrate, or the services that services provided by the providers to integrate with our control plane and management plane. So we don't have a separate operation for a public cloud versus on-prem. It's all managed as a consistent single pane of glass across the clouds. The third area of focus is the compliance. I already mentioned to you that compliance to me, it means that we can meet the compliance of security controls and the regulatory controls, regulatory requirements. So we can ensure that they are not an afterthought. We build that at the early stage, so compliance comes easy without any friction. And the fifth area is the operations. This is where all the things that we do with change management, the release management, patch, all the LETs comes into play. We continue to leverage the tools that they already built in on-prem, and we expand that to include the public cloud instrumentation and the processes. And the last thing I want to say about is the cost, right? It's very important to have a strong financial focus on the forecast to understand how the public cloud is going to be, how the cost is going to impact your budget. So design the system smartly so you don't get a sticker shock after the fact. So if you ask us, hey, what is stopping us, or what are the key focus areas that we think are critical to success in a hybrid cloud strategy, there are a few things I want to highlight. Number one is the identity management. This is where I think most companies are making sure that there is a very strong federation model, very strong identity directory, single sign-on, ensuring that you have a strong posture with multi-factor authentication. So you don't want to have a separate system or silo. It needs to have a single pane of glass that you can extend your users to the cloud, whether it is a business user or a privileged user managing the cloud. Having a strong focus on identity and ensuring that you're able to manage a life cycle of the provisioning, the joiners, leavers, movers, all of that needs to be addressed with the central system. The second area of focus is data protection. When I say data protection, this is something folks have been on this looking at from the lens of data at rest, data in transit, and data in use. And I would say most of the cloud service providers are good at securing your data at rest. For example, making sure that you're encrypting the data in a block storage with the highest standards of AES 256 or hashing functions. And data in transit is simply ensuring that all your connections within the cloud are using TLS 1.2 or above. But the third area is the most challenging, right, which is data in use. Which means that you're protecting the data, even when the data may stay unencrypted for microseconds in the memory. So we are focusing to ensure that all three are done with industry standard practices. So we don't want a situation where there's a data exfiltration because data in use is subpar. The third area of focus is incident response, and this is where we need to ensure that the SOC, Security Operations Center, and the folks who are watching 24/7 have visibility to all the incidents happening and be able to respond to a particular type of situation that's happening in the cloud, which means that having a strong playbook with the context, having strong automation. So within few seconds, the response team can triage, identify the issue, and mitigate it. And the fourth is, of course, this is the table stakes for most of you, infrastructure security, right? How do you ensure that your compute, your storage, your network is secured end to end? And which means you have a strong cloud security posture management to make sure that you can detect any drift in the systems, be able to automatically roll back changes when it is unauthorized. So this is the area that I pay close attention, and also ensuring that they're automated. So we continuously looking for anomalies, and there are things that automatically should be course corrected. The automation will help you to maintain the baseline posture. Again, applying the NIST standards here, you want to start with having a very strong discovery of assets in the cloud, discovery of data in the cloud, and then moving all the way up to the access controls for the privileged users, and eventually the data protection that makes sure that the data is secure throughout the life cycle. And I would be remiss if I don't mention about logging and monitoring. It's such a basic thing, but the fact is that at Visa we log billions of events across all the different sensors and all the nodes, including network level monitoring as well as at the cloud. So we need to make sure that we have very strong fidelity. So we can detect for anomalies using, we use advanced machine learning, and most recently we've been embracing Gen AI. So the logging has to have high fidelity data so that we can detect new kind of attack vectors. We can detect lateral movement and be able to do an auto containment like quarantining a node. So it's very important to ensure that those are built in from the get-go. So the security operations center can respond within seconds and be able to mitigate a situation. Governance is the area that all of you, I'm sure, are thinking about, and the governance is a very broad topic. It encompasses everything from what services that are authorized to use within public cloud to how the applications are maintained with respect to the standards, providing assurance that there is no drift happening, and we enforce things like separation of duties, right? So we need to ensure that we have the governance is built into the platform. And one of the biggest advantage of public cloud is that you have APIs and orchestration that allows you to automatically ingest those information and provide a governance framework. So, for example, to understand if your systems are patched on time. So those are the kind of things that are very, very key for any of the CSOs to have a very strong hygiene in the public cloud. Lastly, I want to talk about confidential computing, and this goes to data protection that I spoke about a little bit earlier. What this means is that when you are delegating the responsibility to a cloud service provider, we need to make sure the workloads, even when the workloads are managed by the service providers, hypervisors, that they don't have access to our data. And this is where technologies leveraging features like Intel's Secure Gateway Extension, SGX, AMD has something called SEV. So different providers are also come up with a proprietary way to ensure the most sensitive data are protected, and the keys to the kingdom are always protected by a hardware enclave and will be tamper-proof and all the good stuff, right? So we need to make sure that we're seeing a lot of the providers using this as a differentiator to, especially for financial institutions, where data is everything that we think about, and everything about consumer privacy and ensuring that we have a strong data protection architecture. So now, just kind of summarizing in our journey and how we are approaching public cloud. Our approach to public cloud is to take a hybrid cloud strategy. And it's, I believe that's probably the right strategy for the financial companies in this vertical. And again, the key thing goes back to be able to maintain control and visibility to all the different layers, starting with network layer all the way up to the access management. And it's also important that these controls will eventually help you to meet your regulatory and privacy requirements, and it's not an afterthought. Second area of focus is for us is to ensure that anything we do is multi-cloud. Again, the benefits are really around ensuring that we have a multi-vendor where we can take advantage of the cloud vendor based on the use case. And when you think of multi-cloud, you have to have an architecture that allows you to go across the clouds and still be able to maintain the requirements, even though how do you implement those controls, maybe localized and maybe customized for that particular cloud. But from a operation standpoint, that looks very much very consistent with on-prem in terms of the telemetry, in terms of the processes. And that will eventually, what we are looking forward is to ensure the posture is on the hybrid cloud is equal or better than on-prem. The last thing I want to say is that, as you are in your journey, and as the cloud is constantly innovating faster, and areas that we are looking forward is some of those things that think we are working with a research team here in Visa, is things like homomorphic encryption. These are this type of technologies allow us to take the sensitive data to the cloud and be able to perform operations without really decrypting the data. So this will open a whole new world of use cases for analytics. So we're looking forward to providers who can partner with us and offer these capabilities that that will help us to take workloads that we thought is never possible. And same thing with the confidential computing, right? We want to ensure that the providers can embrace these features. And with that, I'm looking forward to this journey and looking forward to share your thoughts and what some of the lessons learned from your end. And thank you for the opportunity for the day.